We are back.
Hi.
Yo,
You
you ready
okay?
to rock and you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah. As ever.
How's how you settled in?
Good. I feel so good just being away right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, mindset has just suddenly just relaxed into it. I didn't think that I would.
yeah,
But yeah, me and Joe were both saying, we were like, do you know what? Just like being in a different environment
yes,
suddenly just makes us feel more chilled.
yeah.
Obviously, I hope that it would, but everything we've been doing for the last few months, I didn't think that it would. But I've let go today, and hopefully that continues for a week.
Yeah, I think you've done the right thing. Sometimes a change of scenery allows you to go, "Hmm," and then just reset, right? But
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about your journey anyway through lockdown. Um, just because I think it'll be interesting for people to hear.
Okay.
But also you can share your own experiences. One being a businesswoman.
Yeah.
Um, So, guys, if you don't know, basically we have Ruby on the show today. Ruby's an inspiration in her own right. She's a very successful businesswoman. She ums and ahs about where that stops and how far she has to keep going. But again, as they say, is we don't know when that will be. But again, she'll share her lessons in business, but also being entrepreneurial and actually trying to challenge herself in that sense. Because in this day and age, there's not many businesswomen like Ruby. But also, we're going to talk about a journey. We're going to talk about the highs, the lows, the mediums, and how Ruby is in general right now. So, Ruby, the first question I have for you. Actually, let me just see if I can take this out. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it still clear?
Yeah.
Let me just try the. I'll try it on my phone.
Oh no, I can't hear you now. So, can you hear
Can
me?
you hear me?
I can hear myself.
Hello?
Hi, I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. That's much better.
Yeah.
So, the first question is. We'll start with your journey, and then we'll go to business one. But what inspired you to change in the first place?
When I started Ufit or now?
Started
Initially. Yeah, okay. I think when I first joined Ufit, the reason why and what inspired me to change at that time was that I had spent so much time with my work and stuff, and I had a baby obviously 6 years ago, and have a business and stuff, and I think by the point that I had joined Ufit, I hadn't been focusing obviously on myself like a lot of mums and people and working mums, and so I'd got to the point where I needed help. I needed support. I needed help. And I'd seen a friend go through a Ufit journey and had seen like amazing results. And I just thought, oh my God, like look at what she's done. And that's just what I want to do. And obviously how she had done it and the support, and I'd noticed the changes in her, not just physically, like mentally as well. And thought, wow, here's something actually that's I think would work for me as well. So I was quite inspired by my friend who had joined Refit and been through a journey with you guys as well. But I had the reason why I wanted to join or change was because I had been through like quite a stressful time in our business. We'd been growing it and building it, and everything was about that. It had been, for 2 years prior to Ufit, I think my body and my mindset was everything was just about something else. Do you know what I mean? I was like the last thing, and it didn't matter. I didn't matter at that time, and everything about me I just put to one side because I was like, hell bent on making sure whatever we were trying to achieve needed to get done. Do you know what I mean? And for the business, for the people in it and everything. And so I kind of got to a point that July before I joined Ufit where I was like, oh my God, like look at the state of me. Do you know what I mean? And I just felt like I looked in the mirror and, you know, and not just at my physical self, but my mental self. And I thought, oh my God, how have I got to this? Do you know what I mean? I was like, you don't realize when you're, when your body's changing, even when it's changing for the better, but because you're making the effort to do that, you kind of follow, and scrutinize it. Whereas before that, when my body was changing into a worse state, you just don't see it happening. It's happening, and you just suddenly wake up and you're like, oh my God, how did I get here? And I knew how I'd got there, because everything was about everyone else and everything else. And I just thought, and also I think at that point, because of the change in the leadership team that I had to build, I was like, God, you know, I need to be a better person to be able to do what I'm about to do. Do you know what I mean? So we've been growing our business and stuff, and I think the person that I was 2 years ago, I knew if I was going to be able to take that forward and give it what it deserved and give it the best of me, I needed to improve and change and grow in lots of different ways. And if I'm completely honest, I didn't know that I would be able to I didn't know when I joined Ufit that I would be able to achieve that through you guys. You know, initially I thought, yeah, okay, they're going to help me, you know, to get my energy back and to feel more, you know, I can go and do 18-hour days and it's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? Or not, you know, and that's where I'm kind of ending up now, that I know what I don't need. But I think back then I was like, I need to have energy and I need to feel physically fit, so that when I do get up in the morning and I'm mum, but I'm also leading a team, lots of people, that I would be able to, that I could do that. And people, and that's not just about mindset and work and all the rest of it, but looking the part as well. I needed my teams to be able to look at me and know that, yeah, that's the person who's going to take me through this. I trust them. I can see they look like, you know, what I would expect the leader to be. Do you know what I mean? So I think for myself, initially, I've probably knew what I needed to be or who I needed to be in order to make this successful, and I needed support to do that. And I think I've achieved that. I believe that I have. And I can't believe it in a sense as well, that actually that's what I got from it. So yeah, that's kind of why I joined in a long short way.
How was it? Because obviously you got Jay to join as well.
Yeah.
How was it? Was it doing it together? How's your journey been together?
Great. Do you know what? I don't think I would have done it on my own for lots of reasons. The basic one being motivation, obviously. You know, you've got each other to be accountable to and, you know, motivate and stuff. But it's something to do together, even though we're parents and we can't always be in the gym together and all the rest of it. But it felt like we were doing this journey together. And Jay and I have probably used that in a lots part of our life. Do you know what I mean? As in our businesses together and stuff. And so it felt quite natural. And actually, I think he was in a similar place. And I know that he wants to change. He obviously have his own reasons and why he did it and stuff. But yeah, doing it together.
His hair grew back.
Say that again.
His hair grew back.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. And now he's losing it again. But yeah, I think, to be honest, because of the changes that we made at Ufit, especially in the first, like the DS challenges, it's a lot. And I think and I'm sure lots of couples say this, but when you're making those changes, it's not just about you making them, your whole family is doing it. Do you know what I mean? So it was great, as in finding time to be in the gym, finding time to meal prep and cook and all these other different things. You know, doing it just for yourself didn't feel right. It felt really good that I was doing that with somebody else, and it wasn't just a change in my mindset, you know, or physical, be it body. It was a change for everybody, which is so, if it's going to last and it's going to be sustainable, that's what it's got to be, hasn't it? So yeah, doing the journey with Jay, God, I don't think I would have achieved what I had if I had done it on my own.
We won't tell him that.
Yeah, don't tell him that. He'll take the credit.
I've got another question for you. On my end, so my end, guys, my end's echoey, so don't bear with it. but I don't think it's echoey to Ruby.
It's not to me.
In terms of your journey, Ruby, I know like when you hit goals, there's always a low. There's always like trying to get back on the wheel or figure out what does maintenance look like, what does life look like. But obviously with yourself, you went part of your journey was a bit turbulent, right? And there's a question I've got for you. Is throughout your journey to where we are now, was there any point you wanted to quit?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And if so, what was the thought pattern in your head about quitting? Because it'd be interesting. Because I think a lot of people, when they're on a journey, you go through a phase of being lost. You go through a phase of life, and everyone thinks they have to have all the answers in the first year or the first 6 weeks. And unfortunately, life ain't like that, right?
Oh God.
We know that right now, right? So what was some of the thought process you had about quitting when it got tough?
Oh God, so during my journey, obviously, you know, in the beginning, it's really you're seeing a lot of change. You know, things are getting better, your body, your mindset, and everything, and the way you look at things. And that is motivating in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? You know, you're like, yeah, I can see things happening. This is working for me. Yeah, this is the right journey. I'm on the right path. And I got to a point in my journey, and during that time, like a lot of what I wanted when I joined Ufit was about my figure and my weight and, you know, what I look like and what size clothes I'm going to wear and all the rest of it. And when I started my journey, that's what, to me, improving my health was about. Do you know what I mean? It's not now, but back then that's what it was. And I look back at myself then and cringe sometimes because I think, is that what I, you know, God, is that, and I know now it's different. And throughout the journey, obviously I had some really positive changes, and I was, you know, and I was thinking, this isn't that bad. It's actually easy. Do you know what I mean? I was like, okay, if I just do what has been suggested to me, if I just put the time in and make the effort, it happens. It's that as easy as that. And I think as I went through the journey and I, you know, with the coaches and stuff, I used to, obviously in my weekly meetings and stuff with them, I would talk about, you know, my next goal. And I'm quite a goal orientated person anyway, like that. I find that motivating. And so when you'd hit it, it would feel amazing. And there were times when I'd hit it and I'd think, what now? Like I remember my coach was asking me, okay, so you've now, you know, you're now a size 10 or you're now a size 8. So what do you want to focus on? And to me, I didn't know. I was like, I felt a bit like goalless. I was like, well, Helen, I've kind of, you know, fit into those jeans now and that's all right. And I don't know, I feel good and I don't know. And then I started to look around things. I was like, okay, what do people like Ufit? What goals do they have? What more is there to health? I didn't know. I thought it was just about losing a dress size and whatever. And so I started to look into more detail, like different types of ways of eating or different things I could do with my mindset or body fat percentage and all these kind of things. And I started to make, like, I was like, okay, right, fine, all right, I'll have a goal. I'm going to become 9.5 stone, you know, which is less for me. And I was like, yeah, I want to have a body fat percentage of under 30% or something. And I tried to put figures to it. And for a while, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to aim at. And I went through a period of I went through like a shred, you know, and I got to probably the best I ever looked or felt, you know, in a long time. And then I kind of crashed and burned a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I felt like at the time I was like, I don't know, I think I'd got to the point where I was like, okay, my body feels good. And I remember distinctly like discussing this with the coaches and probably you, Sam, but talking about actually what does it take to be like this? Do you know what I mean? And do I want that? Do you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I know what it feels like to be at this size, and I know what it's taken to be at this size, and do I want to live that life forever? And some of it I was like, yeah, that's cool. And some of it I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if I can do that forever, because life is such that there's lots of different things that we need to focus on and do. And so I had to make choices. And I went through like quite a lull time, and I was like, I went through a point where I was like, Ufit, this is not for me. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this is not for me. These are not the people that are going to help me. That's not what I want. I don't want to be 9.5 stone. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? And I went through a real patch. And I remember listening to a Facebook Live that you did on grit and getting through those stages. And the more I looked into it, I was blaming the gym and and I was like, that's not for me, that's not what I want, it doesn't match what I need anymore. But actually it was more about me and my perception of it. And I remember going through that moment of thinking, I'm going to leave, I don't need this anymore. And then I just had to kind of sort myself out. Do you know what I mean? I was like, it was all about, I was blaming everybody else, but I had to turn the mirror on myself and look inside myself to know.
Right?
Yeah, really hard to do, but hugely enlightening as well. And I looked around, I was like, you know what, this is a hard journey. And up until that point, it had been relatively easy. I did this, I got that. I did this, I got that. And I got to a point where I was like, oh God, the change is like, I always say it's like tooth whitening, and I did not want to bring a dental analogy into this, but people's expectations, like if you whiten their teeth and then it's gone from like this shade to this shade, and they're like, oh, but I wanted it up here, and you think, yeah, but look where you were. Do you know what I mean? Look what you've done and look what's happened. And then when you get to that point where you're fine tuning, and that's like what I was doing with my body, I was like, ooh, you want to have those small little changes, but they get really hard. And you're looking for something that perhaps you think you need to do, but actually you don't. And at the time when I was going through those, like, okay, trying to make those small changes, it was getting really difficult and I wasn't seeing results. And obviously for everybody, to see change and feel change motivates you to do more. So it was harder to be motivated. But yeah, I went through a real rough patch there where I had to just ride through it. I had to just ride through that storm. Do you know what I mean? I had to just keep going because I knew that I had to tell myself, if I keep going through this difficult patch, I'm going to learn something on the other side. And I did. Do you know what I mean? And the way I was after that made the rest of my journey about so much more. Do you know what I mean? It was about so much more than just weight loss. And that's now what I know why I'm part of this gym.
That's the interesting thing, isn't it? I think when something doesn't go right in one area, your personality will just plow you in another, right? So you'll go straight to your defense mechanism, which is work. And that's natural, but at the same time, for example, it's hard because what you just mentioned there, for example, I remember sitting down with you on quite a few occasions. My end's so echoey. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you really clearly, yeah.
I feel like I'm, what's it called? What's that show? Doctor Who? It's fine. So, the thing is, for example, going through that journey and looking at yourself, that's where most people turn away from. They don't look at themselves because actually it's easy to blame everything else, right? It's like I made a statement at the start of lockdown, which is COVID has not hooked you, it's actually exposed you.
That was so true.
Because fundamentally, when you look at all your habitual patterns,
do you know what? That phrase really, I was like, oh my God, he's right. This is so true. Because, and it's interesting what you say about defense mechanism, because I use work as a way, but obviously everybody has to focus on certain things. You know what I mean? Like there's responsibilities and everything. And when lockdown happened, by the nature of our business, we couldn't lock down. We've still got to look after people's teeth. Do you know what I mean? So we were still working, but working in a massively different way. And it took me back, actually. It very much reminded me of my journey before Ufit. So I'd gone back a few steps because I almost had to build my business again from the bottom up. And that was the time where my body just was a mess. You know what I mean? And I was like, Jay, this is like the beginning when we had to mobilize everything, from the start. I was like, what the hell? We're having to start right from scratch again. But only this time we were lucky that we had better infrastructure, people, do you know what I mean, to do stuff. But at the same time, I was like, and I know now when I look back, I think I pushed myself to the side again because I was like, right, you know what, all your stuff, COVID did expose those good habits, which I'll come to, but I had to just put everything to one side and focus on making sure that work and people and the service that we do was what it had to be. And I knew at the time, and I thought I was doing the right thing. And I know that I did, and I had to do that, and I didn't really have a choice. But equally, what I've done to myself is what I did before. And I know that, and you're right, as in COVID does expose, because then I was like, oh my God, all these good habits that we have and that we've built up in the last couple of years with Ufit, I know that they're there and I know that I need to use them. But what COVID had exposed is actually, it showed me that when life gets hard, everything that is good, I've just pushed to one side. Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because the things that make us feel good, we actually put to the bottom of the pile. And then all we're on then is...
Yeah.
So then we're relying on adrenaline to take us through each day, but eventually, inevitably, we just crash and burn anyway.
Yeah, and which is exactly what has happened over the last few months. Like, as in, during the beginning of lockdown, there was a lot of adrenaline. I was just getting on with like what we had to do, reorganizing people and whatever. But yeah, and that doesn't last long. Do you know what I mean? I've been lucky it lasted 3 months, but even then, that's what, and I've got to the point now where I have, it's changed, and I crashed and burned throughout lockdown. I was like, God, and I had Helen like coaching me through it. And with Helen, I pushed her to one side in the beginning because I was like,
oh yeah, I know that.
I can't do this. I can't have a phone call, one phone call for half an hour a week. I couldn't even do that. So I was like, no, I can't deal with that because I've just got all this other stuff to deal with. It's just far too important. And so, yeah, but then as time went on, I started to realize, I was like, Rubes, you know what? You've got good habits. You can't let them go. You can't start again. Even though I know if I have to start again, you guys have supported me to have a backpack full of tools to help me to get where I want to go. And the journey will be different, but it will be just as good. And I think I was relying a little bit on the fact that I knew that it was a bit of a safety net, if I'm honest, because I thought, do you know what? Whatever happens to me now, I know I'll be able to get back where I want to get or whatever because I'm part of Ufit, and Sam and Helen and the coaches have got my back, and I know what I need to do. Do you know what I mean? I knew the small little things that I needed to do, but obviously there's a lot more to it. But so I suppose in a way took it for granted a little bit, but I was like, yeah, I've got Ufit and it will help me, even though I've got to actually do it myself and help myself. But
the interesting thing with that is, though, you say that now, right? But the further you go into a spiral, the more you don't reach out.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And then the more you don't want to be around other people because you think you're being judged. So the word you used at the start of this was perception.
Yeah.
Right? And how you view the world, and then how people view the world. Actually, it's our own perception that is very ignorant and gets in the way.
Absolutely. I think in the beginning of lockdown, because obviously everybody was locked in and just doing what you think you should be doing, and you think whatever you think of other people. And I remember in the beginning, like I said, I couldn't deal with a phone call from Helen, and I think I was worried actually, because I was worried about picking up the phone to her, because I knew that I thought, I didn't know because I was wrong. I thought that I was going to get a
I'm right.
Yeah, what are you doing? why have you not done this? Da, 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 da. Why have you, are you doing your steps? Are you doing that? I was thinking, oh my God, I can't even breathe right now. And she's going to give me more stuff to do. I don't think I could do that. And then I felt shame. I was like, Helen's going to be like, you haven't done this. You haven't been eating, you're drinking wine every night again, which you stopped. And I was like, she's going to tell me off. And also, because obviously I follow a lot of stuff on social media to do what you guys do. And I was thinking, everybody else has just got on with it. They're still going to the gym, or not at the gym, but they're doing it online. They're still meal prepping, and they're still, doing all the different things that they did. And I felt like, oh my God, I've really let go. And wow. And I think one day I just had to make that change. And it's such a small change to pick up the phone, but actually it's huge. It's just I've just got to pick up the phone. But actually, for my mind, it took me weeks. And Helen will tell you, she rang me and I missed her calls, and I was like, oh no. But then eventually, when I first spoke to her, boy, did I feel good. Suddenly I was like, oh, there's hope again. Do you know what I mean? And she really understood, and I didn't think that she would understand. Do you know what I mean? But she did. She understood more than I believed. I was quite surprised, and I was like, oh, right. And I felt quite enlightened, and I thought, okay, that's one small step. I did it, and actually it was okay, and it was good, and I felt good about it. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to commit to speaking to her. And she's probably been more like a counsellor than coach, I suppose, is the right word. But and it wasn't about Helen never pushed or anything. She just listened and shared. And what I found helpful was interestingly, and I didn't think that I would really care about this, but other people's journeys. She really shared with me what other people were doing, and it made me feel better, which is so shallow sometimes, but actually it helped me to be motivated, because I was like, okay, I'm not alone. There are other people like me, and this time has tested them or exposed them, as we said. And I felt better about myself, and I didn't feel like, oh God, I've just fallen off the wagon here. What, I'm awful. Do you know what I mean? So I felt that really helped me. And so for me, in the lockdown period, while I might not have initially been doing loads of physical activity or things that I used to be doing with the gym, or what I was working on, though, was up here. It was in my mind. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably the biggest change that I've had when I even compare it to the physical changes that I've experienced on my whole journey. Do you know what I mean? Now I look back and think, God, the mental journey is exactly what I needed.
I think for a lot of people, this is the thing, perception, right? Perception, everyone's training, everyone's doing X, everyone's doing Y. I can tell you right now, right? There's 25 people online. No, actually, 56 people online doing the classes, right? There's about 37 people doing a program, and there's about 100 people doing some bits, not doing many bits.
Yeah.
Right? But that's because of where people are in their journey. And the thing is, what I want to probably put across today is, wherever you are in your journey, don't feel guilty, right? Yeah. Ultimately, it's a journey, and some people are just different places to you, and that's okay. But first of all, you've got to accept it yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
What we get good at is comparing ourselves to the Joneses. All the Joneses have gone away. They seem to have it easy.
Oh my God.
They might have. They might not.
This is it. And the thing is, like, when you're in lockdown, you don't know what other people are doing. It's all in your head. Do you know what I mean? You have no idea what other people, the challenges that they're going through or not, or as the case may be. And so I think the connection with my coach through the time helped me put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I felt good about myself because I had answered the phone. Do you know what I mean? I was like, well, that's good. Do you know, great, been brilliant. And that motivated me to do more. And I kind of, and I think that's been quite the biggest change that I've been doing right now. I said at the start, right? The goal of lockdown is to stay in the game. Now, whatever the game that is to stay in the game. Yeah.
Because a lot of us will look in the mirror, and a lot of us will want to quit because it's easy. We perceive it's easy to quit then stay on track.
Yeah.
Now that track, though, is going to have some big boulders, it's going to have some small boulders. But this journey is far easier than this perception journey, i.e. quitting.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You're staying in the game.
Trying. Touching in there, but yeah. Small stuff.
Right.
Small wins.
I think to some degree you do it because if you let me give some people's perspective. How many people are you looking after now in the business?
In the business, it's about 120 people.
Right. So something to consider, guys. If Ruby's looking after 120 people, that's 120 people's jobs, 120 people's different personalities, 120 people's different issues towards COVID, how they feel, the scared factor, the emotional factor.
Oh God.
Right? So you've got to appreciate, if you imagine what Ruby's probably going through mentally, i.e. all this information, and then you've got to make sure she stays afloat.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy, and a lot of us will have this, it's very easy to drown ourselves in other people's stuff, if we're going to call it that, and then basically push ourselves down because we can't cope with it. So in essence, Ruby, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. When someone says that, it helps you, because you don't, with that many people, you don't put yourself first. You've got to make sure they're all okay, with all the things that you've just described.
If they have to wear what you saw, I saw the other day. Right, guys, we're talking about secret joke here. I'll post it. Ruby looked like she was a nuclear bomb just gone off. Right. Next question.
Yeah.
What's the most valuable lesson you've learned about yourself so far?
Oh, okay. I suppose, well, not suppose, to give myself credit where it's due, and to get out the gap, look at what you have done. Do you know what I mean? We always look at all the things that we haven't achieved, or, we naturally, I do, I don't know about other people, but can sometimes be quite, I've not done enough. And I think what I've learned about myself is that, well, I know that what I've learned about myself is by doing that, I can that helps me to look after myself. Do you know what I mean? As in, I need to make sure that I do things mentally to recognize what I've done or not done, even then. And that helps me. That makes me get up and be able to do it again, or do something different. Do you know what I mean? Again. And so that's what I've learned probably the most now, is that I need to continue to do that to help myself.
Nice. I've got a banging question from Helen.
Oh God.
If you have a conversation with yourself at the start of the journey, now, what would you say?
What you know now, okay, if I was at the start of my journey and I was talking to myself back 2 years ago, I would say to myself, you ain't got a clue what you're going to do here with this. Do you know what I mean? As in, I would say to myself, I look back at myself and I cringe at the things that I valued and thought were important to do with my health, and that's all things, isn't it? And you don't know what's coming. You're going to be so amazed by the changes that are going to happen. You can sit there and talk about your size 8 and your 9 stone and all the rest of it, but actually there's so much more to that. And so, yeah, that's what I would tell myself. Look, be excited about actually the change that you're going to see. Yeah, God, if I'd sat, if I'd sort of talked to myself in that person that I was when I first came to meet you. And if I'd known then who I am today, I'd know I'd get my money's worth. Do you know what I mean? More than I thought I would. Absolutely.
There you go. There's a banging question. If you could go back and start again in your journey, would you change anything?
Do you know what? That's really easy. No, in a weird way, because, and I know people always say, oh, I would do this differently, I would do that differently. But in order to get to where I am now, no. And I might change my mind on that. I don't know in the future. But I'm a real firm believer in, like, you know, like people always say, oh, I really wish I was 21 again and all that stuff. I don't think that. You know, life is life. And whatever you've been through, those things have shaped you to be what you are now. And I don't believe that, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world, even the bad stuff, because the bad stuff is what gets you to here now. And even going forward, you think, okay, I'm not, whatever happens, whatever adversity we all go through, you've got to go through it. That is the journey of life, isn't it? You've got to go through it to get to your next goal, to get to whatever it is that you're going to do. You'll find your purpose, be your happiness, whatever it might be. So no, I wouldn't change it for the world. You know, even when I was going through the moments where I was like, this ain't for me, I don't, you know, they don't understand the gym, da-da-da-da. But I had to go through that to grow. I had to go through those uncomfortable moments to grow. You know, and I've been through not just with my Ufit journey, but my business journey in the last 10 years, but especially in the last 2 years, through some really hard times. But, you know, we always look at ourselves and think, you know what, it's not that bad, because actually people do have it much harder, and get over it, Rubes, you know, life's not that hard. But actually you've got to go through those really difficult times to grow, obviously, like we know, but to get to where you're going to be. And I'm excited about whatever is coming next, because I know that it's going to be good for me. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but it will definitely be enjoyable. And I'll look back and think, yeah, I'm really grateful for that. But I tend to be a little bit of a silver linings person, because I know that whatever happens, there was a reason for that. And that's one thing I always try to help with my teams and stuff in our business, is that whatever adversity we go through, there was a reason for that, and that we're going to learn something from that, and we're going to take whatever we learned from that, and that's now made me bigger and better and improved me. That's great. Thank God. If it was just plain sailing, it'd be boring, you know, wouldn't grow.
I think that's the interesting thing. I think a lot of people perceive that there shouldn't be problems in life, or there shouldn't be issues. But without these problems or issues, you would never make the brain think or grow.
Yeah.
So therefore, you never feel fulfilled or happy.
Absolutely.
Right? My coach, I had a conversation with my coach about 2 weeks ago. And you've probably been, a lot of people are in this position right now, but it's like thinking ahead. So my thought process was, I'm going to lose members, right? And if you allow that thought to manifest, as you know, and probably most people know, your perception takes over. You start to go, fucking hell, this will happen, this will happen. The interesting thing, my coach said to me, he said, Sam, play it out. Let's spoil it. Let's do the ending right now.
Yeah.
Right? And we went through it. He goes, so you lose the fight. How do you feel? Sad. You lose the gym. How do you feel? Sad. You have to close down the gym. Let's start again. You go bankrupt. Let's start again. And he goes, so therefore, for example, all that's ridiculous though, right? But that's what you're thinking unconsciously.
Yeah.
You're thinking about all these thoughts that inevitably in the future, but they're all ridiculous. When you think logically about it, all ridiculous.
So true.
Guess what? The gym's not going to shut down. Members are not going to leave you. Right? They may leave in different circumstances, yes, but they're not necessarily going to leave you.
No.
So all these thoughts you're having are ridiculous. And that's, but that's the thing that I've started to do. And a lot of people who are in this position where you have a thought, a negative one, play it out for yourself. Understand the worst case scenario, because you'll look at it and go, not like that. Right? But that's the thing. It's a head change, right? And even like I said, even my level, for example, people look at me and go, "Oh, Sam's nailed it." Mate, trust me, I nailed it. I'm just looking in the mirror every day.
This is it.
And the mirror is scary when you look every day.
Absolutely. Mm.
Right. Here's another one for you. It'd be interesting to see what the word you choose. How would you describe Ufit in one word?
Inspirational.
Ah, me, obviously. Perfect.
Obviously, Sam. Definitely the whole.
No,
yeah.
I'm going to step away from my own ego now. I'm going to pass it on to the team. The team are inspirational.
Yeah, the whole thing, the package, the whole thing is inspirational.
Right, another question. How have other areas of your life developed since being at Ufit? Now, this could be personal, it could be business, it could be family, it could be anything.
Okay, so with family, okay, with friends, let's say with friends, initially, it was when we were joining Ufit and we were making a lot of changes and stuff. And I remember talking to you about this, and my coach was saying that it's really hard to maintain some friendships with people because the habits that we have are different now or changed. And I went through a time when I thought, oh, I don't know if can I be friends with them anymore? Do you know what I mean? Or, whatever. And so that was quite a challenge, but I found a way of making that work. Do you know what I mean? And just explaining or talking about, or them seeing positive change, them being part of it and stuff like that. In business, it's helped me to be able to be the person that I think, and this might be wrong, but that my business needs. Do you know what I mean? It's helped me. It's changed that for me a lot. So,
would you say you got out your own way?
Yeah.
Rakesh says to me, Sam, you need to get out your own way.
Yeah, you do. God. There's a thing with any business owner, you're always in your own way, isn't it? And you've just got to trust the process and trust the people. And
because you've made a lot of changes, haven't you, Riley, in theory? Because obviously, remember at the start of your journey, like obviously your PA would schedule like sessions, your diary would be immaculately organised, but then it went into complete chaos, right? Right?
Do you mean
now you're probably going to learn. Now with lockdown, you're probably learning that actually you can do a lot of things either remote, put more people in charge.
Yeah.
Develop what you want to develop.
Exactly. Like, back in the day, well, not back in the day, but pre-COVID and stuff, I would have such a. Do you know what? I've spoken to Helen about this so much, but I had such a structured life. And this is where I mean that COVID has exposed things because, like my PA would put my sessions into the diary. She'd even put the time that I was going to go pick up my kid from school and stuff like that, So I knew where I needed to be all the time. And you're spinning all these plates, aren't you? And it was working. It was fine. It was working to a point where, because I didn't know any better, do you know what I mean? Because that's what I thought it was about. And during lockdown, obviously, yes, we all had to work remotely. I mean, in dentistry, it's quite difficult to do. Obviously, people are still on the front line. But in terms of managing it, we all work from home. And I became less kind of rigid. Helen will probably tell you this, but she uses that word with me a lot because I was quite rigid about the way I was doing stuff. But what I've learned is that actually you don't have to be like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's okay. So, for example, I would go to the gym in the morning, 6:30, because between 6:30 and 7:45, that's when I go to the gym. Then I drop off my kid. Then I have my first meeting at It was all planned out. And I thought that was good for me, and I'm sure it was to an extent. And I had to go through that, and I'd be up at 5, and I had to, I'd be journaling at 5 a.m. and meditating and all this, and doing all these things, which are really great things. But I think with lockdown, I was like, in the first few weeks, I was still trying to do those things, but then I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting up at 5 o'clock? I'm not taking my kid to school because now we're apparently homeschooling. So that's added an hour into my day of a commute to school. I was like, why am I stressing out to get all this stuff done in the morning? Because I've got all day now. Do you know what I mean? And actually, I don't have a PA in my face just giving me things that I need to do all the time. And I can plan my day in the way that I feel like it. And I struggled a bit with that in the beginning because I thought, no, this is not how life should be. You know, I should be bang, bang, bang. How am I going to do this for the teams? Da, da, da. But then I just chilled out a little bit. And that was really good for me because then, only then could I start to bring things back in, like habits. So, you know, like before, yeah, exactly. If I wasn't up at 5 and journaling and then at the gym, then I was going to be fat. Do you know what I mean? So, or I was not going to be healthy anymore. And so if I got out of bed at 7, to me, I was like, oh my God, I've lost that. I can't do it now. I can't do it. I can't do my workout now because it's 7 o'clock and that time is gone. Do you know what I mean? It's that thing. I was like, I remember talking to Helen. I was like, because it's now 7 a.m., I can't work out now all day because that time slot's gone. So I had to really chill out and tell myself, it's okay, whatever time. And now I've got used to that and I've become less rigid. And I thought, you know what? I can do it at any time. And maybe this is the new normal for me. I hope so. It works right now. Obviously, everything will change again and it will change again. And I think you've got to obviously adapt to those changes. And I'm not really that good at change or handling change, but I've had to be and I've had to get better at it. And I've had to really work at that for life and for business. So now I thought, okay, do you know what? You need to be able to be flexible in order for me to be able to bring those healthy habits back in. Does that make sense? So, yeah, and I was like, well...
The more stress you feel, it's like my morning routine. My morning routine was stressing me out.
Yeah, it's stressing me out.
And in the end, when something stresses you out that much, you don't want to get up and do it.
You don't do it. Yeah, exactly. Like my morning routine used to excite me, and then now it was becoming... I was like... why am I stressing myself out by like getting up at 5 and doing all these things while they were really good for me at a time? Now what's good for me? Do you know what I mean? And that being able to change and be okay with that was a big change for me. I had to be okay with that, and and now I am, and I think actually that's fine if it's a different time, And I took the bits of the morning routine that I still really loved, like I love journaling, and that I know when I stop doing that, it throws me off. It allows me to think and through things and just be a better person, really. But those small things I could do, but it didn't matter if it didn't happen at a certain time of day. I still did it, and by still doing those, it's helped me to work through to get to now. So the good habits that I had like that, I had to clutch onto because I knew when I didn't do them, I was different. And so I was like, and I wrote about it one day in my journal. I was like, Ruby, when you're feeling bad or you're having a difficult time or you're feeling overwhelmed, go back and do this because you will feel better. And I had to write that in my journal to read later.
It's writing. The thing is, what we've stopped doing is mobile.
Yeah.
Laptop or iPad, and we've stopped using pen and paper. There's something more powerful about pen and paper, connecting pen and paper to and actually writing down your feelings rather than doing it on a phone. There's something more powerful.
Oh God.
Personally, I don't know what it is. I think it's the disattachment from electronics.
Yeah.
More than anything, allows you a bit more freedom mentally. But yeah, doing your journaling is a great thing.
Brilliant. It's been brilliant.
I've got a question for you, innit? And you don't have to, you can say, Sam, I'm not going to answer it, or it's too personal. But I want to ask you a question, because if you take work, take what you do, take who you are as a person, take what you've gone through. When lockdown happened, how did you feel as a mum? Because I know you watched a video online about this, but I think what you're going to share, if you want to share it, I think a lot of women will appreciate how you share it and what you share.
So, at the beginning of lockdown, I've spoken to you, Sam, about my life and what I want from it and how I want to, what kind of mum I want to be, what kind of parent I want to be, and how I'm going to blend that with my personal goals and business and stuff, and my own personal health goals. And at the time, and I didn't know if I would be able to do all of that and still have it all. And in the beginning of lockdown, I was quite, I liked it in a way, because I feel embarrassed to say this, but I think some aspects of lockdown have been really good for me as a person, because I got what I wanted. So I remember speaking to you about, I want more time with Rosa, I want more time, and I want to have more family, and I'm not focusing on that, and that's not good. And why am I putting it at the back? And I want, but I wasn't making any steps towards that. And I almost got forced into it in lockdown, and being around Rosa all day, every day. And I was like, what a gift is this? I was like, oh my God, everything I've always wanted is here. Suddenly I can work and I can be with my child all day long. And that's amazing. And that's what I wanted. And obviously, like all mums, I'm sure it was tough, trying to work and homeschool and bake with your child and all these nice things that they want to do and these activities every day. We even had a timetable.
It's that baking one what came out, and everyone went on the baking thing and fucking killed every woman off, I think.
I know. And I was like, I want to be all things to Rosa. And in the beginning, it was nice to be plunged into that and actually have family time. And I was like, wow, we're never going to get this again, Jay. This is like the sabbatical that we always wanted. Do you know what I mean? And I remember saying it to you. I was like, this is great. You've got a young child. You could spend time with them. And then as the journey's gone on, and I'm sure loads of mums have felt like this, and if they haven't, I'm sorry, but it's got harder in a way, because now, and I said this to Helen on the phone, I was like, what I thought I wanted, I don't know if I do, because I thought that I wanted to be at home with my child and be at home mum with them all the time. But actually what lockdown has shown me is that here it is that what you want? Is that what you want? And I've thought a lot about this and reflected a lot on it. And I was like, actually, it made me kind of appreciate what I had before more, because I thought what I had, this juggling act, wasn't right for some reason.
Yeah, because you thought you weren't a good mum.
Yeah, exactly. It made me feel like I had put my business before my child, which is just not any mum ever wants to feel. And
that's the correct word, though. It's a feeling, right? So that never happened.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Rosa would think that if you asked her. I mean, she's only 6, but she probably wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? And actually, she probably preferred me as a mum pre-COVID than she does now, because now, we're home all the time together, and she's like, Mummy, I want to play, and I'm like, oh my God, we've played for like nearly 4 months now, and I'm so tired, and I don't want to play anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's so bad to say, and now I feel like a bad mum for that. But at the same time, I was like, but then, when you talk to other mums and you read things on social media, you have to keep saying and keep, okay, it's not just me. That's okay. This is common and stuff. But it did. So I think from learning that, I was like, actually, that's shown me that going forward, it's not me to just be the mum that's at home all the time and the one that I thought that I needed to be. And now I'm grateful for that, because actually now I think, I appreciate what the situation's going to be, whatever it might be, however it'll pan out. And I can control that. And actually I know more about what I want so that I can aim to that. Before, I now look back at that conversation I had with you, Sam, and I was like, I didn't know what I was talking about, really, and I was aiming to something that I don't think would have been appropriate. I would have got there and then thought, oh shit, this is not what I wanted. Kind of been forced into it, gratefully. You've got to take from it what you can, right? So yeah, I've learned that, and that's now given me some information to help formulate what I do want to do going forward.
I think it's important. I think, like you said, it's what we do to ourselves. The guilt that we place on ourselves as being a parent now, obviously I'm a new parent now, but
yeah,
the guilt that you place on yourself that you're not enough is absolutely phenomenal, right? No matter what you do, no matter how, I don't know, successful you become or what, there's an underlying feeling you're just not good enough as a parent.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like you said, if you ask Rosa, you'd say, "Mum, I love you. You're an inspiration," or
all day long.
you show me a lot of different things. But like, I think, for example, what you probably take from this is that you want a bit more balance, right?
Certainly.
At certain times.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you got to appreciate when you build a business, there's always trade-offs. But it's not to say the trade-offs have to happen 365 days a year, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's things that yeah, exactly. The same as with my Ufit journey as well. It's like there are trade-offs. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you want to have a body like that, you're going to trade off, and that's going to be compromises on certain parts of your life, which is fine. And same with business and family. You know, it's like if I want to be that stay-at-home mom, the trade-off is that I have to accept there's going to be things in the business which I won't be able to deal with. I'm going to have to find somebody that can, or accept and compromise. Do you know what I mean? And that's up here. You've got to then, you know, you've got to accept the might be changes and how it's going to be. Or you've got to find a balance for it. Or I've got all the other way, you know, with Rosa, if I'm going to focus on this, I've got to be able to, then I'll have to compromise or accept how that's going to be. You know, as parents, you want to obviously give your child the best of everything. And that's not always possible. But when you look at it from their side, like you said, if you look at it from Rosa's side, you know, I think even she said to me, and she's only 6, she was like, well, Mummy, you know, you're not going to go to work, or Mummy, and I realised from what she was trying to say was that she sees me as that person, and without that, that's who I am to her. Do you know what I mean? And so, and I hope, you know, it works out in the future and it's inspirational for her, but who knows? But yeah, then I thought, actually, that's part of who I am, who she sees me as, and therefore, why am I changing it? And is she unhappy? No. So I'm changing it because probably maybe I felt guilty and thought I should, but actually, what do I want? What's good for her? What's good for me?
There's going to be more women in business in about 30 years' time than there ever has been.
Yeah, absolutely, and good.
I'm like, ooh.
Honestly, I mean, it's good. You know, for women, it's great because you can, you know, get that flexibility, and
it's hard though, right? I think it's very hard for a woman. This is not being sexist or anything, but obviously, if you look at normal history, it's like the woman looks after the child, the man does this, right? But in your journey, the interesting thing is, it's like both you have the business, and then you have the child, but then you still have the business.
Yeah.
And you still do it, right? Exactly. So actually, it shows it can be done.
It can be done.
But the word what most people don't really understand, when you say hard, it's hard on multiple levels.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people think that, you know, I've been on both sides of this. Do you know what I mean? I've been a business owner and I have been employed, and you see it on a lot of people look at, how do I put this? See what you're doing now and might perceive it as that's all right, you know, it's easy. And some of it is, but actually it's hard to be here. It's not like I don't sleep at night sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, a lot of the night, you know, times because things in business is there all the time. It's part of your life. It's not just 9 to 5. You don't switch off at 5 o'clock and that's it. It's constant.
DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, I think when people think it's easy, and I appreciate on the other side the other challenges too. I've seen it, you know, on both sides, like I said. But yeah, there are trade-offs, and people don't know sometimes what you sacrifice or trade off in order to do that. But that's the choice you make. You know, you make that choice, and that's what you want to do. You choose to do that. It's not for everyone, but you've got to. There's a benefit, isn't there? There's part of your journey that makes you put your purpose and what makes you happy.
And I think that's it. I think a lot of people are too in fear of doing that. But also, I think a lot of people nowadays, they look at Mount Everest and go, oh, that's big. Mate, I started at the bottom of that underneath Mount Everest. I started there.
Yeah.
I started at the bottom of underneath Mount Everest. Imagine Mount Everest is 2 meters tall, it's 4 meters deep.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, it's like that iceberg analogy, isn't it? You see the tip of the iceberg and you see the success and the nice houses and the cars, but underneath it you see the blood, sweat and tears, don't you? The massive load of everything else that's gone into it. Yeah.
But like you said, I think I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing.
If it was easy,
you wouldn't do it.
I'm going to share. I've got something to share with all of you soon about an epiphany moment I had. But when the time's right, when I built the story up, then I'll share it with you. But yeah, going through hardship is important. But don't be afraid. If I was to tell anyone, don't be afraid of it, because guess what? The worst case scenario ain't really that bad.
Yeah. I know there's parts of my journey that I look through from business that I think at the time when you're going through it, you think, what am I doing? And I've wanted to give up a lot of times, wanted to give up. And I've thought, and then I've looked back and thought, God, you know what? I'm so much better because of it. And some of them were deep, dark moments, you know, and I thought, I didn't think I'd ever move forward from them. But without those, you can't be here today.
So this leads me on to the next question. Because I got asked this the other day. What's the lowest point you've ever been? Ever? And how did you recover?
Okay. There's been a few, but...
One.
Okay. The lowest point I've been, I think, is...
Okay, here's a question for you. If you don't want to share it, it's cool.
I'll share the theme of it. I won't go into the detail of it, but the lowest point I've been was a journey that my sister went through a number of years ago. She went through a really difficult time in her life, and obviously affects the whole family. And what got me through, I think, courage and my commitment to her, and my love for her, obviously, and my persistent need to fix things, but my commitment to my family and their future. Do you know what I mean? So there was no way that I was going to let my sister go through that journey on her own and come out. I wanted her to come out the other side, the person that I knew she could be or is. Do you know what I mean? So it was a really difficult time.
Yeah.
But on this side of it, it was worth, actually, like I said before, she had to go through that, the family had to go through that in order for us to be where we are now. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't even go back, and she might take that, but I wouldn't eat as hard as it was. I wouldn't change it, because actually her relationship with me and between us and our family is so much stronger because of it. Do you know, like, we broke through barriers as a family. Yeah, and we're not the same family today. So it's almost like a before and after time. And
nice.
Yeah, and so who we were as a family before that and post that, well, I'd never turn it back. So I think just the mindset of getting through that time, you know, just the kind of person I am. I wanted to help make sure it fixed it. You know, I want to fix it, and it's not always the right approach, but it did, that persistence to break through, and it was a really it was fearful and way out of any kind of comfort zone I ever thought I would be in. Didn't see that coming, you know. So, and I was like, this is not happening. I'm not going to let the worst happen here. I'm going to make sure that I lead this through this difficult, dark time to the other side. It is going to be gritty and shitty and hard, but I could see what it was like on the other side. And I look, and I have, you know, now I look back and I think, God, I'd never have it. And even when we discuss it as a family, or when I discuss it with my sister, I think, God, yeah, you know, we're so different now because of that, and we had to go through it.
I think I think that probably the whole of this Facebook Live, if people watch this, I think they'll just say that you're a grafter. You push through things. You determined to push yourself to your limit to succeed. I think that's what a lot of people will take from this. Is that forward?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Don't give up. You can't give up. You just got to keep moving forward, and as hard as it's going to be, but yeah, because there's something else on the other side of that that's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, and let's find out what that is. And it might not be a thing. It's in your mind. Do you know what I mean? It's who you are on the other side of it. Yeah.
Okay. So, Ruby, is there any lasting message you want to leave to anyone watching? Because I want you to enjoy your holiday.
Yeah. Take a holiday is a good idea. Well, maybe don't fly away, but I don't know. I suppose I suppose based on what we've talked about today, don't be afraid, keep pushing, keep going forward, be excited about what's coming. But you've got to put in it's not going to be easy, and you've got to put in the work. It's not, you've got to put the time in, but you've got to find out why you're doing it. And if you start with that, you'll be successful. Yeah.
Boom! Right, guys, as you can appreciate, Ruby in the house. Get in-depth conversations, learn about a personal journey, a business journey, and a massive insight into who she is as a person. Right? Remember, sometimes, like Ruby said, it's not necessarily about the weight loss. It's sometimes perception, but it's also about the mental growth, and also understand that we're always on a journey.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's great.
And I want to say, Miss, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Sam.
And I want you to enjoy your holiday. And basically, I'll tell you what I told Jay, is that Jay has to leave his phone and only check his phone 3 hours a day.
Good advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon, Ruby.
Yes, look forward to it. Thanks.
Peace out.
Bye.